very much. Thank you very much. Well, it's wonderful to see you all here this morning, and what a great start to what is going to be an amazing day. So I am just going to start by asking you to think about why we need to find a clicker that will move the slides. There we go. Why we need to reimagine global health. Just let the question sink in for a minute. And I would guess that every single one of you has your own reason why. If you ever came across Simon Sinek's very famous TED Talk, Start With Why, you'll understand, but you'll understand intuitively anyway, that actually the question why is incredibly powerful. So why do I believe that reimagining global health is so important? And just for yourself, maybe just become aware of what are the first words that occurred to you when I asked you to think about why you think reimagining global health is so important. And hold those words with you. Hold your why. Because your why, the thing that motivates and drives you, is so important. It will power you through. Now, for many of us, the why might have also something to do with this. Okay. So, look, this has been in the media for the last number of weeks. You're all very aware of the devastating impact of what has been happening in the US since January 20th, and particularly in the last almost 2 weeks since an radical shutdown of USAID was announced. We are still extremely unclear about what is happening and what is going to happen. But what is absolutely crystal clear is that if this shutdown does continue and becomes a complete shutdown, then 95 million people worldwide would lose access to basic health care. And that would lead to 3 million preventable deaths every year. 30 million people would lose access to clean water. And you're all in the health sector or connected with health, so you understand the absolutely devastating implications of that. And even already in the last couple of weeks, the health of more than 20 million people, including over 500,000 children, has been directly impacted by the suspension of HIV-related funding. So we all know how serious this is. But even before January 20th, there were lots of other issues that we were concerned with. And I imagine that when, some of the people in the room, at least when you're thinking about why do we need to reimagine global health, you're probably thinking of some other really big contextual issues as well. So the impact of climate change is one that we cannot, just cannot get away from. Malawi is a country that's very close to my heart. I spent some time there growing up as a child. I spent some time there much more recently as an adult with my own children. Malawi's emissions are the lowest per capita in the world. Ireland's are the third highest in the European Union. This image here was taken about a year ago, and it's an image of a health centre in Machinga district in southern Malawi. On the 12th of March, so just as we were preparing to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, taking a long weekend, the 12th of March 2023, Cyclone Freddy hit Malawi hard. In this area, there were massive, massive mudslides, rivers of mud streaming down through villages, houses washed away, families devastated, hundreds of people lost. This clinic, this is my colleague, Lawrence Monthali. In the clinic, you can see here, he's actually standing on 2 feet, at least 2 feet of mud. And what he has in his hands are health records that belonged to patients that were held in this clinic. On this morning, 22 children died. The mudslides swept through on a Friday morning when there was an infant and young child clinic happening. 22 children died and many, many adults. And I think this slide sort of says it all, really. The top half of the slide shows us the highest carbon emissions are very clearly in the countries in the global north. The bottom half of the slide shows us where climate has its greatest impact. So even prior to the Trump presidency, we were facing some absolutely huge challenges. But I think we need to fight. And I'd like you to invite you to fight like Felicita, or anybody else who inspires you. Felicita really inspires me. She's a Honduran human rights defender. She has 4 children. She works with a community that is defending its rights to land and water, their ancestral territorial rights that go back centuries, against a combination of corporate and political elitism, greed, and human rights violations. you're probably aware, and if not, you know it intuitively at this point, that creating overwhelm is a strategy. It is part of the President Trump, Elon Musk playbook. But it's not just their playbook, it is much more widespread. In our world today, it is so easy to feel completely overwhelmed, and as a result, to feel completely powerless, to feel without agency. So we have to have strategies to defeat the overwhelm strategy. So here's just a few that I offer to you to think about. There's loads online, but I'll come to that. One that I think is really important, and it comes from a podcast and an article by Ezra Klein, the New York Times columnist. He's absolutely excellent in his analysis. And one thing that he said in a podcast about a week and a half ago was, don't obey in advance, exactly. I'm wrong. That comes from Timothy Snyder, the historian who studied what happened during the lead up to the Second World War in Europe and wrote an excellent, very quick little read of a book called On Tyranny during the first Trump presidency. And his first chapter, it takes about 10 minutes to read, is Don't Obey in Advance. And the lesson from that chapter and from the rest of the book is that power gains power by us ceding it. So what Don't Obey in Advance means is that don't assume that we have no power in the face of things that appear to be absolutely catastrophic. Yes, Trump is the most powerful man in the world. Yes, Elon Musk is the most powerful man in the world. But just because they say something doesn't make it a reality, doesn't mean it has to happen, doesn't make it not illegal. You've all probably seen the raft of court cases that have been taken against President Trump because what he is doing is illegal. It is not right. It cannot happen. There are checks and balances. So lean into the knowledge that if we do not obey, there will not necessarily be the bad consequences that we think, so that we have to resist. Ezra Klein, don't believe him. Very similar point. So Ezra Klein said, again, the president does not have the authority to issue all these executive orders. Executive orders are meant to be short-term emergency measures, and then the provisions that they put down in them have to go through a process. They have to go through Congress. They have to go through a legislative process. So don't believe, when Trump says he's going to do X or he's ordered Y, don't believe him. He doesn't actually have the power and the authority. And what's important is that we support our colleagues who are in the United States, who have a role to play in enabling that democracy to function. Focus, okay? So the overwhelm strategy, it's like the shock doctrine. It is trying to get us to completely lose our energy, withdraw into ourselves, not be able to push back against this overreach, against this destruction of democracy, because we are not focused. You cannot focus on everything. Choose your thing. Tune it back into your why. What is your why? That will help you find your focus. Set parameters. You know, social media, in many ways, it's fantastic. A lot of the ideas that I have here come from reading brilliant LinkedIn posts from other people. At the same time, are we getting the amount of sleep we need to get? Are we able to actually be productive during the day? Not necessarily, because we're losing our focus because there is just so much on social media. Posting, liking, responding, that is not necessarily activism. That is making ourselves feel connected, yes, but actually, what's really important is that we build alliances in the places we're in. Build alliances with people near us, whether you're in university, whether you're in your community, whether you're in the NGO sector, whether you're in the government. Build alliances with people around you. The greatest energy and power you will get is from the people that you meet in real life. Online is fantastic. We can build global networks, but in real life is where the energy really comes from. So build alliances, support one another. It's wonderful to be here today to be able to do that. And then lastly, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself the way Felicita believed in herself, had to believe in herself. A survivor of gender-based violence working for human rights in one of the most dangerous countries for human rights defenders in the world. We all need to fight like Felicita. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is another little tool, if you like. The hero's journey. So when you feel like you're standing at the edge of a precipice, again, when you feel like your agency has drained away, this is something that's useful to bear in mind. We go through this cycle many, many, many times in our lives. You might have heard of the hero's journey. It's also called the monomyth, and essentially it's a theory that says that all of the major stories that we tell ourselves, from Harry Potter to Jaws to whatever your favorite novel or film is, are based on a standard cycle. But you can apply it to your own life as well, very easily. So In the ordinary world, we're going about our day-to-day life, minding our own business, doing our work, looking after our family, dreaming our dreams, and then something happens. And in this cycle, it's called the call to adventure. But it could be something else. It could be something we don't want. Very often it is. It's something scary, something that's disruptive, something I don't want to have to deal with. I don't want to have to deal with the fact that President Trump was elected. But do I have to respond? Well, there's a call to respond. The call to adventure usually then is followed by the refusal of the call. No, that's just not for me. I'm really got to focus on this thing. That's like, I'm too small for all of that. Then there's a mentor. Somebody, think Gandalf, think, whoever you can think coming into the story. And they encourage and enable you to take that first step forward out of your ordinary world, which is the day-to-day, the what you know, which of course has its challenges and its issues, but it's what you know, into the special world. You're crossing the first threshold. It might be you sending an email. It might be you going to a demonstration. It might be you saying to Nadine, I want to be part of what you're doing. And then you set out on your journey to achieve a goal, something really important to you. On that journey, you're going to meet obstacles. You're going to encounter things that enrage you. You're going to encounter people that help you, people like you, people that want your dream to work. You're going to go into a cave, which is where you hope at the end to find the thing, to get the thing, whether it's the legislation passed, whether it's the change, whether it's the upsurge in civil activism. You're going to go through a big ordeal. At some point, something big is going to happen. But you come through. And in coming through that experience, you're transformed. You gain new strength, you gain new insights, you gain new capability, you inspire other people, and you return back to the top of the circle. Your ordinary world will never be quite the same again because it's been transformed through your transformation. So each one of us, if you think back, take a few minutes at some point over the next few days, think back through your life. You've gone through this cycle. You at some point have gone, no, I won't take that job, or no, I won't move overseas, and you've done it, and it's transformed you. So we can do it again. You can all do it again. And do it this time like Shukri. Shukri is a doctor who works with Trócaire in Ghetto in south-central Somalia. She was the first ever female doctor in south-central Somalia. And here she is with a symbol of hope and absolute resilience. This is baby Tuman, who was born in rural Somalia, a long way away from healthcare, 12 weeks premature. And due to the care of Dr. Shukri and all the people around her, Tuman is now a thriving baby, growing up with the safety and comfort of his family all around him. So best of luck, everybody. Enjoy the day, and thank you again to Nadine.